chapter 21, and it's called Then This Happened, and this is the last chapter of WOOF. Whether Emily was the brains behind the whole thing or not isn't known. What is known is that from the time she got her dog, Eric never changed again, or at least he hasn't so far. In Roy's opinion, this was a very telling point. She gets her dog, you stop changing, it proves it. But he was uncertain and confused too. After all, in the beginning he'd only said it was Emily for a joke. And besides, his hopes were that Eric would change again. Eric, for his part, didn't dismiss the Emily theory. He rather liked it, in fact. However, it was the idea that strange things simply happen once in a while which most convinced him at the time, and still does. In his opinion, especially as he grew older, in this world a bit of abnormality was probably normal. But of course, for the first couple of weeks, Eric still expected to change. He even hid spare clothes in the garage just in case. Mrs. Banks discovered them 2 days later and wondered what was up. Roy too had high hopes, especially of the school camp. That's the place, Eric, the woods. But the camp came and went without incident, and Eric's cousin, Marion, returned to her paper round, and the school term ended and the holidays began. As the months went by, Roy continued from habit to keep an eye on his friend. Then, in the new year, a new girl arrived in the class, and Roy kept an eye on her instead. During this time, both boys could feel their memories of the dog days fading. They made strenuous efforts to hang on to them, as people often do with a good dream. But time kept passing, and fresh dramas arrived. A burglary at the scout hut, a ghost at school camp, to push the old ones out. Now it's nearly 3 years later. Eric hasn't changed into a dog again, but other changes have occurred. His cousin Marion is engaged. Emily is 6. Eric has grown 5 inches and become less in awe of his mum's detective work. Roy, slightly the older of the two, has turned into a teenager. He combs his hair 12 times a day and has lately taken Joan Spooner to the pictures. But even now, occasionally, something happens which... Take last week, for instance. Eric had gone on a visit with his combined studies group to the Bell Street RSPCA, the dog's home. Here he'd seen the vets at work, and there was one dog, one in particular, that caught his attention. It was sitting a little apart from the others in its pen. It was noticeably calm and had some of the features of a Norfolk Terrier. Eric crouched in front of it and ran his fingers over the wire mesh. "Here, boy," he said. Then, almost without thinking, but with a quick look over his shoulder, he added, "Are you a boy?" Bark once for yes, twice for no. The dog put its head up on one side, pricked an ear. It allowed the top of its head to be scratched. "Woof," it said. And that is the end of the book. Do you think that's a new Woof story about to happen? I wonder. Okay, and thanks for sharing with me in this book. It's been fun.